into a special new universe today, not only with tracks, but with Spectrum. Caesar mentioned, hey, why don't we have a Spectrum analyzer? Why don't we have a Spectrum analyzer? You know what I'm saying? And that's something I wanted to do, actually. I wanted to do that a long time ago when I was at a Pittsburgh local Ableton meetup. I said, hey, why don't we have a Spectrum analyzer on screen? And they put one up, and it was one of those really slow, gooey ones that doesn't show you very much. So I've got the Ableton Spectrum analyzer, and the thing I love about it is you can put the mouse on the line, the peak line, and pull up, and you look in the little box, and wherever the mouse is, it tells you the exact frequency and the MIDI note. So right there, I can put my mouse right there and see that the lowest note in this bass line is C1. I'm seeing the individual bass line peak notes. It's so cool. So today we're gonna be able to play tracks, look at the Spectrum analyzer, drag it up a little bit, and see what's going on in the music. And also, over the course of time, we'll get a basic idea of what different Spectrum lines look like in different tracks. Different mixes have different shapes. That's what's up. Oh, you're looking at all my whole back end, my scenes, my overlays, my sound meter. That's important, right? And what we're listening to right now is, this is exciting for a couple of reasons. This is my Crunchbase track, Mix 5 Mindbender Pad Dub. And the reason I'm playing this is what I did after the Mindbender interview. I wrote down his technique of jamming with a synth. You make one long, like 8-minute jam, tweak filters, make build-ups, drops, just play with the sounds, a whole bunch of knobs and stuff. And then you go to your next sound, listen to the one you just recorded, and jam along. You just put a basic beat loop going and jam with your synths and everything to get that flowing, oozing track form where it just kind of continues morphing over time. And then the last step is to lay out the beats in chunks and make sure you have your risers and your crash and your drum rolls and your beats layering and taking away steps and stuff. I'm not looking at the comments yet, so don't say anything interesting. Oh, and we got a shout out to Kimono Breeze with a new release. It's, I guess it's on Bandcamp, and a 4-track release with 2 tracks that came through Track Feedback Crew. All you got to do is look for the purple tiger with sunglasses, and you know you'll be in the right place. For anybody who's watching, we're doing comments on YouTube, so get into the Mixatexture YouTube channel. You got to subscribe to comment. And we are playing tracks from the Mixatexture Discord server, which means we go through these feedback channels with different genres: electronica, hardstyle, hip-hop, house. Mostly today it's going to be house and techno with a little bit of some miscellaneous beats and some hardcore. So this is really fun. When you join the Discord server, we do track feedback all week long with people commenting, posting tracks, putting in all the stuff we used to do on Facebook. You know, hey, here's what I'm working on. This is what I need help with. And people put in comments and use timestamps, right? Timestamps. And then we play them twice a week on live video to listen to the basics of sound design, song structure, and mixdown, give you some helpful tips on what needs to be tuned up and tweaked. And when there's a track that's so good that I can't even find anything wrong with it, then we reverse engineer what's working and come out with a little recipe that you can use in your own music. Kind of like when I was saying the Mindbender mix recipe, and I'm not just making this up, the Mindbender formula really is in writing, and I'm gonna break that down for you in another workshop. But first, oh, right here. Filter that synth down. It's still there in the background like a pad. Turn my headphones up. Yo. So I like tweaking filters and LFOs. But let me stop that. So the update on that track is that somebody gave me some good feedback that the bubbling pad feel wasn't quite, like it was perfectly synced BPM wise, but the pulse of it wasn't synced with the groove. And I was like, yeah, that's important. So if anybody's interested, if you're having trouble syncing your LFOs, you know what I did was I changed the LFO from sine wave shape to, I think, a downward sawtooth, so that the bite of the LFO, instead of being like whoa whoa whoa, it was like pew 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 pew, and somehow that like realigned the groove of the LFO to be more in sync with the beat. It's a little trick. It's super subtle, but when you feel it and it doesn't sound right, that's not subtle. That's obvious. So tweaking LFOs and everything, I love doing it. I want to teach more about that next time we do sound design workshops. So we got Matt Schultz, we got Mr. Melvis Gabriel Moraes, hey, what's going on? Shepherds, I saw Scott Burke up there. Jesse, I saw Tim Laws. So, excuse me if my screen share gets a little sloppy, but what I want to do is just play some tracks and listen to them. And I got to stop talking because you can see my voice. Oh, oh my God, such a nerd. Starting off with Todd Mavis, Mr. Melvis. Here we go. Okay, is that Spectrum working okay? Type in Spectrum yes if you can see that and it works for you. Man, this is a groovy beat. I like this drum beat. I like this groove a lot. These chords in this groove is awesome. Bass line needs to be bigger. So I'm going on the board right now, boosting up the lows. So I'm EQing that a bunch to get the bass line and low end up because this could have a nice throbbing low sub. The chords are really like happy and cool and the beat is perfect for it. And that synth is cool. Are we gonna get a solo guitar? We just had what's called a climb. That's like a type of song structure where you go up. It's like a breakdown, you know, for us in like electronic music, it's like, oh, that's a breakdown. But the climb is like the melody goes up and leads you back to what you were hearing before, but it kind of has like a lift to it. So yeah, I don't know what that high frequency chop off is. That's a good question. Jesse, I saw your question. We'll figure that out. But I want to replay this a little bit and just let's listen to how do we get through these sections around 2.5 minutes. That's chord cycle. Wow. Okay, so we started off with a descending scale. Bow, 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 bow. Let's see where it goes. And then it went up. Bow, 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 boom, boom, and back in. One more time. I'm embarrassing myself singing over this, but it's easy to sing. It's like a little scale motion, goes down and then goes up. So 3 times it repeats a downward scale motion. The 4th time it goes up and leads back to the main chord cycle. Pretty cool. All right, so I'm playing with the Spectrum right there, checking out what frequencies are in the piano part. You can see the chord cycle is playing an E and a D. Those are down to like 40 hertz, way down there, and that piano might have a crunch chord. I think I heard like a crank crank. What was that? Burn it. Damn it. .318, I'm not sure if that was a mistake or just kind of playing around with voicings. You are playing what sounds like low chord octaves, or, well, the register. So the piano has but here's what you can do though. You don't have to move your piano part up. You could go from the keyboard and just play the same piano part up an octave to make the low end cleaner. Or this is a cool place where if you use a high pass filter with a gentle slope, you can get rid of some of the low frequency pressure in that part, but still keep like the tone, because those low notes have this like richness in a piano. That's why piano sounds so good, is they like the sounds kind of combine and make like a tone, you know? Just checking the comments. So I like being able to see this spectrum thing, right? And of course, that's the bass note down there. And here's shit. I want to talk, but I wanted to my voice erases the spectrum. I wanted to show you that kick drum is like a super big round, like a mountain, like whoa. Let's just look at that kick drum a little bit more. So when you hear Pivclit or somebody talk about the kick drum having like some mush that needs to be cut around 200, 240 or down to 160, that was like the upper right-hand side of that curve on the kick that can really overlap with the low end of pianos and stuff. So in techno and house, we'll see kick drums that are like a super bump down below 100. But this track totally works. And overall, the thing I like about it the most is that the chords and the beat fit together to take you on this nice ride of like cyclic motion just from the beginning again. I don't know if this spectrum analyzer is going to slow down. We're going to spend like 20 minutes on every track. Oh my God, you want to see the phase meter too? Yeah, there's going to be like me peeking out between graphs and meters. And I want to point out this synth action on top is nicely done. And then one more time, that structure of the climb, very musical. And I'm not just saying that for no reason. All right, Mr. Milvis, are the drums too mechanical? I don't think so. It's a beat loop, it works. And the reason I'm kind of like hyping the song structure thing is we just added a new channel, which is called Songwriting Analysis. And we've got our friend Lana, who's Kali the Destroyer, jumping in with some insane theory analysis examples and tracks that we know, asking the question like, what makes a hook memorable? What makes a melody stick in your head? And most importantly, how can we do that? So I want to draw your attention to the Songwriting Analysis channel. That's in there. And pay attention because this conversation just started. We're already getting into drum programming. How do you sequence beats? What are the patterns that make hip hop feel like hip hop? What are the patterns that make house hi-hats swing like that? So check out the Songwriting Analysis channel. That should be a private channel only for people in feedback. Gotta set that up. So, are the loops, no drum programming? So Scott, that's a good point. Yeah, the drum fills are where you're going to get it. The drum fills should sound fresh and crisp. It's okay to have a beat loop that's a beat loop. And the mix is not bad, and the feel is really good on that one. I like where you're going with it, and that's cool. Now, let me reset my EQ. Yeah, the circle of fifths. So DJ Water has been doing some cool sound design course, and apparently this combines everything. Look at that Ableton screenshot. That's a ton of automation. What do we got?
Shall we?
International Rescue, we have a situation. Diverge are go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, so where is the DJ Waters kick drum? 89.5. Okay, let's stop. At the very beginning, this spectrum gives us all the tools we need. Check out how much low and sub information is happening with the intro sounds. So like on that impact sound, it goes krush. That's a good place to have a bass bump. But when it's like that drone thing of like, ooh, that ominous drone, it's better not to have that in the like 20 hertz range, because that's going to just punish almost every sound system in the world and not really communicate anything that you can use. And most importantly, what it does is it kind of just takes energy away from the top end. So people are going to be trying to turn it up and they're like, I don't hear what's happening. It sounds like because the low end is like, so watch out for those super, super low sounds in the beginning.
International Rescue, where are you?
Shall we?
International Rescue, we have a situation. Diverge are go. 5.
And when we have an actual dive bomb that goes, that one could be a little bit louder and have that be like the dominant sound that goes, and then what's cool about those sounds that pitch down is whatever sound system you're on, that sound system is going to reproduce its own lowest note. So everybody's going to hear that as a dive bomb. Kraftwerk did that with their kick drums, where they would have that like poof, 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 like a fast pitch shift on it, which means any sound system you play it on, it's going to take that system down to whatever the lowest sound it can make is, and everybody thinks it's a low kick drum. And if you're on a big system, it is a low kick drum. So back to the beat. Look how flat that line is, too.
Oh, this is rather distressing.
Frank Sinatra coming back.
Got the string around my finger.
Hold on tight, Jonas.
Right there. Pew! That little sound coming in at 2.5 kilohertz is a place I would EQ a little bit. It's good that it's loud enough to jump through the mix, but that's a frequency that could be like a little bit too much like that. Wait, watch my voice. Pew! What I like is how flat that line is. It's a really like even mix.
Mission complete. Over and out.
This part could be louder. Cool, Ian, man, good stuff, good stuff. It's really interesting to me to see how that whole it's like one kick drum grinding, buzzing sound, and the whole spectrum is like. If you look at psytrance and hard techno tracks on a spectrum, it looks like just a diagonal line where the line is straight and it's got almost like a perfect amount of energy in every band. So I'm curious about what you're doing with all this automation and mixing and how many layers. Is that a screenshot from what we're hearing? It's heavy. So good stuff. I'm curious what else is going to happen with that. And the two tips I have for you are watch out for the super low content in the intros and the extra like fun sounds, because you can easily have a bunch of low end in there that you don't hear, but it gets in the way. When you have an impact like a boof or a dive bomb, put that up and really watch how it goes low and let that be nice and loud, but have that only be the only loud thing in the bottom. And the timing was good on this one. It was cool with the breaks, the chops, little jumps around and stuff. Always fun to listen to. And I'm glad you're getting so much success with your mix sets with people listening to this stuff. It's amazing. So Tim Laws, are you here? Templo 1, please don't be a private track. Leave the Heart Mix 4. We're going to get into some house. $45 Look at that. That's me bumping up the volume on the master. You guys need the finger cam on my EQs. Oh. I love that. Look how that bass is right down there. We got the kick drum all by itself at 45 and those bass blobs up above them. When you can see your bass notes clearly compared to your kick drum, that's a sign that it's going to sound good on a big system, because that's what your system is seeing. Yeah, it looks like an F from like 43 to 46. Good vocal placement. Okay, that transition was a little tiny bit awkward. That transition was just a tiny bit awkward. I want to see if we can clean that up. I was feeling right away like, heard something drop out, the hi-hats kept going, and then there was like a whoosh. So maybe we can just get rid of, let's see if we can pick out one element to get rid of to make that transition kind of hit you better. What happened there? There's like a little, like, kind of like a scratchy, like a staticky thing. What is that? And there's an extra hi-hat thing. So cut out the do, maybe cut that hi-hat and have those little switch up sounds be louder or more alone by themselves. So you get the full effect of the little switch up different sounds and get rid of the hi-hat that's on the predictable pattern. So it's like a little micro break, just a 1-bar thing. That's cool. And then it comes back in. Okay, one small snare, yeah. Riser coming in.
Leave it behind.
This is so cool seeing all this stuff.
Leave it behind.
Oh no.
We are the night. Leave it behind. We are the night.
Okay, whatever that is down there at 21 hertz. That little crackly background sound. You see how easy it is to have a sound that's like... These synth bleeps are cool.
We are the night.
Yeah, the vocal is really nice.
We're broken. We are the night.
This is a nice build. I feel it growing.
We're broken.
And you come in with a crash. Sorry, everybody. Hold on.
With me.
I like how it's more simple now. Somehow it's like beat, bass line, one synth, and the vocal. And this is like a nice section. And the mix sounds good. Let's skip forward a little bit, see what we get. Look how that kick has a little bump at 132. One more time. That's what you want for like the car speakers and mid-range speakers. Cool, man. Tim, great mix. That really sounds like a playable track. The only thing I noticed was that little turnaround cymbal thing. Where was that? Over around like around there. Minute 45 or something. And again, since we have our handy Spectrum analyzer, watch out on that little background sound. You named it already with the super lows in there. And bring that back next week. I think that's ready to be done and get mastered. Another thing I like in general, watch this as a general thing, how much the overall line bounces. Like with DJ Waters, it was like driller, like doof, 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 and the whole line just stayed in place. When you have house music where it makes your body go like this and it's like doom chick, doom chick, doom chick, doom chick, you can actually see the line going boom chick, doom chick. Let me just give you a basic example. And that's good. You don't want to have your mix so hard compressed and driven up into the limiter that the line's not bouncing and it's just like goof, goof, goof. A good lively mix. When you see the Spectrum line bouncing like that, it means there's dynamic range and the speakers are going to be going in and out like that, and people are going to feel like, oh, it's like snappy, like crisp transients. All those good production terms that people talk about. Sheppers. Any questions? Scott Burke. Sorry we didn't play your track yet, man. Yeah, we'll get you on the replay. We're going into the Sheppers Technoland. Let's see what this Spectrum looks like without me talking. Oh, damn it. Sheppers is no joke. That one little sound is right there, 581. That was great. I'm gonna try EQing the mid-range a little bit. That was right about about 600 hertz. So much good stuff in there. I wanted to hear the boosting up and cutting down a bit. This mix sounds great. You've seemed to solve the rumble problem that you had in a couple of weeks ago. Now we have a clear low end that's like a clear low pulse, and it has a rumble bass around it, but it's very much like boom, boom, boom. That feels like good and clean. If anybody's listening on a big sound system or like in studio speakers, let me know. I'm in headphones and not sure I can comment on the lows exactly the same way you hear it, but it sounds like a good mix so far. And whatever your kind of gravelly background sound is, I would cut that down a little bit around 600. Because you don't want too much of this. Nice reverb too on that swell. Those little R2D2 bleeps right there, I want to hear those louder. Those are super cool. It's like blah, 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 blah. All right, cool. Let's see how we get out of this one. Nice reverb tail. That's what I'm talking about with that 600 something sound. From about 500 to 600 hertz, there's and it's different on different sounds. So if you have like an acoustic drum kit that you're recording and you're hitting the floor tom and stuff, 600 is going to be disgusting. It's like whoa, whoa, whoa. It's like this kind of like boxy cardboard kind of sound that you want to dip out a lot of. In this kind of track, the background has a lot of this like pulsing rumble, right? Like the roof, roof, roof. And that lower mid-range area is an important part of it, but it's important to get the balance on that right too. So some parts of the track, I felt like that 500 hertz area was a little too much, especially because there was a little beep in there that we were hearing. Okay, that little peak where I put the mouse right there before I started talking at 574 hertz, that's a beep. It's going doop, doop, which is super cool. And I don't want to cut that down, so I wouldn't use EQ at 600 hertz on the master. I would go to the rumble background sound and maybe the kick drum or however you have those grouped and take that down just a bit because it kind of like makes a little bit more clean space for the bleeps and the synths and that R2D2 glitch kind of stuff to be like clear and more out front. It doesn't take away the fact of rumble. It just makes it like you're kind of dipping it out a little bit to make space for the other stuff. Can I borrow your hat and give you my aggressive one? Matt Schultz is saying the kick could have a little less of that box frequency, maybe around 300. I think that's what I'm getting at. Yeah, there's a boxiness in the kick that's a little bit of like... So play around with that. And actually, Shepherds, let us know if you know what I'm talking about right now with how to EQ that and how to separate the layers and pull out those sounds. Because I'm not sure if that... I always like to think I'm saying things that make sense, but you never really know. Mindbender's not here. Who is here with us that we want to play? Zaffa is Phil Lewis. Oh, Canada we just missed. Another Mindbender. OSP. He might be working, but let's grab that track. And Stevenos, another Canada. And Pivklitz. We're going to play that last. So let's go with... Yeah, Shepherds, thanks for posting. Let's go with OSP Verao. I'm interested in what this is going to sound like. And if you're watching right now and I didn't pull up your track yet, let me know, say hi so I can play it while you're here watching. Here we go, OSP. Yeah, Shepard is definitely getting better and better. Another famous OSP drum break right there. Doom, doom, cock, cock. A lot of people coming in down 45, 50 hertz on the kicks today, huh? I love when people introduce a vocal with a little snippet and a delay. It's such a cool little tiny hint. It makes you want more. I don't want that window. Okay, I'm bringing up our level. That vocal popped up right there, 800 hertz or so. Nice little mental note. Listen to how you can hear the bass notes and feel the bass notes and see the bass notes popping up. That is what a good mix looks like with the kick drum separate and the individual bass notes popping up. I can actually tell you what notes he's playing by seeing them on the line. Not right now, but when they come in. That impact is nice and low. Just completely clear. And you got all that space below the bass line for the kick. So the lowest bass note is at 73, and our kick drum was like 45. That's how you do it. Hey, Jesper's here. What's up? Oh, I like that string on top. This is like global international house, man. You can play this at any carnival, I think. All right, hold up. Freaking OSP has the coolest drum breaks. I want to steal every one. 3.5 minutes. A reverse, a double bump, and a swipe. How do we make that? And then after it, a down riser, and then the ride cymbal comes in. It's a combination of sounds, rhythmic, sonic sound design, and then a new sound coming in after that. Really, really effective transition. Yeah, Oliver, if you're still on, how did you come up with this arrangement? Did you map out other house tracks or just feel it intuitively or have a plan? Like, it's working really well. And those soft chords, the filter opening up, the triangle percussion, hi-hat, drum layers are all in their own space. I don't want to stop this one. Going up. Check out how the vocal is going from like 250 up to about 2000, and it has that kind of muffled sound. So like the body of the voice is in, that's the mid-range, 250, 2500.
Lá vai uma, lá vão duas pombas a voar. Lá vai uma, lá vão duas pombas a voar. Pombas a voar, pombas a voar, pombas a voar, pombas a voar.
You can see it losing frequencies as he filters it down. Damn it. I double clicked. Okay, gotcha. Combination.
Lá vai uma, lá vão duas.
Yeah. I think that high string sample on top could be a little louder. I can't find it with EQ, but I like it a lot. Let me go back. Where'd that come in? So it fades in. It's a high string sample, it's a high string synth sound. I think that should be louder and stay longer, because that is like a thread that just like people just ride on that thread. You could definitely keep that high string going right here. Ooh. F sharp, I didn't know I could do that. I could whistle notes into the spectrum. Wait, what happened? Another transition. There was a rhythm that went down, down, digga, digga, down, out. And it sounded like a bass, like an upper note of a bass line. And it keeps changing. And now there's like this buzzy saw kind of synth layer in there that brings us a little closer. You can like feel the tech house, like the techno kind of root of the sounds with that ride and that buzz. Really nice line between like organic, earthy, pan percussion house and hard beats. Nice one, yeah. The one drum gung gung might have a little. You might want to watch the lows on that, because that one like gung gung is like really bassy. But could work. Under pressure. See the conga coming in right there, about 350. And the wispy crash taking it out. Great. Great. The one hand drum doo 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 might have a little too much sub, and I was saying that because I noticed it was bigger than the kick drum. So if people are doing like, you know, somebody's like mastering this, that one hit might take extra attention that they don't need in the rest of the track. I don't know if I'm being picky about that. But as always, all OSP tracks, I have a hard time adding anything because the flow is good, the arrangement's good, the sounds come from the same like palette of sounds, so they hang together. This one works really well. The one comment I had was make the string sound louder and also hold it for a longer duration, which could be a matter of taste, but from the way I like this kind of house music, I would do that. And before I talk about it all day, let's move on. I want to play Phil Lewis because we don't play his stuff very much, and I don't know what kind of track this is. Let's see. Okay, right away, notice that the track feels unmixed and the spectrum looks real empty. You see that? I swear. Okay, now the low end is like way bigger than the mids. So hi-hat needs to be louder. Hey, Maxime's here, what's up? Watch out for that peak around 460, 470. That's that boxy synth sound of like cook, 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 cook. And the sub bass is way louder than the kick drum. We have sub bass mountain coming up here at 50 hertz, so that's the note G. And the kick drum is like getting buried. Let's just look at that kick drum again. Okay, that's a great example of this bass note. By itself, that bass note it's a note D, you can see the note, you can see the peak in there. And when the kick drum comes in, that big round kick mountain completely covers the bass note. And I don't mean to say that you can mix visually, but I'm just interpreting what I see in the graph. And then later when that low drone comes in, it's like a huge mountain that's way bigger than the kick drum. So those three sounds, the bass, the upper bass note, the sub bass note, and the kick drum are in three different positions on the spectrum. And we can hear that the mix sounds simultaneously, parts are too loud and other parts are far away. And it's we need to just like get it all kind of into that same line or range of dynamics and volume and level, so that as we're hearing it, we get all those sounds coming at us together. Yeah, the panning is really widespread, which is going to be good later, but when the mix is unbalanced, it's a little too much right now. Okay, now we have more sounds filling it out. Let's see what happens. I like those little ones. Really cool sounds. So I'm pulling down the low EQ a little bit to take that bass bump down and get the mids more clear. Okay, now that we know what the track is sort of going to do and what the elements are, let's just go back to the beginning and scroll through a couple of places. I took a low shelf EQ down, boosted the high shelf, and boosted the mids a little bit just to balance out the mix. Let's go back to the beginning. There's a peak right there around 475. That is too like scratchy kind of in that sense. But all right. So I'm gonna give this one. The strong point of this track is the sound design with the mid-range synths going. There's some effects on there. There's some little like bleebles and things that are really interesting. And this is going to be great when the beats get in shape with the low end. So it's got like boom, 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 boom. And with the kick drum, it should be like, right now it feels like there's only a sub bass lifting up like, And what we want to have is like boomka, 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 like Tenka, like the trance track. So when you get the sub bass and the kick drum levels merged better, and you have like that rhythm going boom, 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 then and then bring up the hi-hats and the percussion layers, then those mid-range synths are also going to become more clear, and we'll be able to talk about what's the track doing, how is it moving through arrangement and transition. It doesn't really have an arrangement right now. It's like a jam of sounds, which is totally cool. So I'll work on that mix a little bit, work on the low end mix especially, and bring it back, and let's see what we can get for next time. Yeah, let's see. Watch this. Maxime. Oh my God, you guys. Everybody's going to be like, stop watching right now. Let's do Stevenos while we were on the tech vibe, and then we'll get into some couple other beats. Oh, Scott Burke is back. Scott Burke. Are we doing Laced or are we doing Visionary 3? I think we're doing Visionary 3. Whip Spectrum. Psh, psh. Sorry, I gotta pull that back a little bit. That is a smacking kick. Okay, I'm going to pause right here. The bass line crept in, and the kick drum hit just perfect, like heavy, deep, tight, had a click on it. It's beautiful. When the bass line, the sub bass came in, I saw a few sub bass notes peeking out above the top, and I heard it and felt it, but it's a little bit buried. I want to go back to this part where the bass is coming through, and watch for those bass notes. I'll put my mouse on where the bass notes are. Maybe we can read where they are. And this is a situation where the bass notes need to be louder, and maybe the sub bass notes are going to be either hard side chained with the kick or something like that. So the kick and the sub are going to have to share time, and the upper bass notes can be a little bit louder. Let's see what we got. So you can see a little bit of bass popping through, but the bass needs to be louder and distinguished from the kick drum. Mid-range stuff is super cool. I really like that brightness on the mid-range synth. It's like baka, baka, baka. Harmonically, there's something a little weird with the top note and the mid notes and everything not totally gelling in right now. Great reverb and sound on that bass. The top drone has a little bit of a pitch drift, like I think that's what I'm hearing. I love it. You can totally see the sub bass note right there, and that's right where the kick drum happens too, which is why we're having sort of a kick and sub conflict. I like how that vocal came up for sure. Okay, let me pull down the volume a little bit so I don't feel like I'm shouting. So the sound design is really, really good. The feel of the sounds are like wet and reverby and bright and up in your face and everything. Something about the notes again is it's like a track we had a couple like in September where there was sort of like too many changes of the bass line and the harmonies during the track, and not really like a clear sense of like, here's the main bass line loop and then here's some other stuff happening with it. And together with that top drone note has a little bit of a pitch bent drift. So we're not really in a clear harmonic center. And on top of that, the kick drum and the sub bass are overlapping. So the overall effect is that I'm losing the harmonic sense, and it feels like there's too many things pulling me towards different notes. All of them are good at the moment they're happening, but over the course of the track, it's kind of like we're here, we're there, we're over there, we're over there. So the way to solve that and clean it up is first what we were talking about with the bass line. Sidechain the bass line harder so it's out of the way of the kick drum, and turn up the bass line, especially the upper parts above 100 hertz, so that the bass line is popping up clearly. Then you have a harmonic foundation to build the chords on top of. Like right now, it's like super cool. There's that like crystal synth on top. And we got a high pass filter coming in. So, Maxime, harmonic problem on the arpeggios. Let's just skip through the track and just kind of hear different sections and figure out. This actually might be a situation of bifurcating and making two tracks or making like that live set split. We know from the beginning with Canada, it's not uncommon to have so many ideas that you get two tracks and two good tracks out of an idea. So maybe that's what's happening right here. But let's see what we got from the beginning. Look at those two little spikes up there. So at the opening, it starts off with that drone pitch drift, not super clear. Okay. Rhythm. Bass line comes in, but it doesn't come in very, very defined. And now we're here with like a bass line group. I think the vocal could be louder. And this arpeggiator is super cool. Okay. To me, it almost looks like this part is centered on the notes C and G, but the very opening was on a C sharp. That right there could be what's going on, is if we start the track off and we're anchored on the C sharp thing, and then later on it's like half a step down going between C and G. Believe it or not, a one step difference from sharp down to natural is a huge harmonic difference. Maybe that's what's happening. And I like this part with the inner synth going down. And that looks like we're doing C, B flat, D, and C. Yeah. Moog bassline synth. So these sounds are super cool, and I can tell you have an ear for harmonic or chromatic shifts, like going up and down, having bass lines that are half step apart. But do what you can to stick on one root note. So if it starts off on a C sharp, have the later bass line go with that, and have your vocals go with that. So the whole track is basically in the same key signature. And then you can do your like detuned synth on top and other parts coming and going, and it'll stay sort of locked harmonically in. Okay, good. Bass line in the first half is A sharp, second half is C. A sharp, so B flat. So we're going from B flat up to C. I mean, it could work. I'm kind of describing how there's a combination of a little bit of an unfocused mix at the same time as a drone on top and two different bass lines. Overall, that effect is making it feel like there's, you know, that thing of like, oh, it's one song that's turning into a second song or something. So priorities, make a decision of what is the most important sound and how you can anchor the track onto the bass line. Well, I guess like I always say, get the kick drum and the sub bass working together so the sub bass is super clear and easy to hear. Then identify which sounds have notes that really work with that. Whether that's an arpeggiator or something that really locks in with that bass line, and get that up loud in the mix so the ear has something to lock into harmonically. Then you can get the drone thing and maybe pull that volume down a little bit to push and pull against the harmony so it all stays gelled together. That's a complex problem-solving track. It's so good. The sounds are so like rich, and the mix the way you presented the sounds in the mix is really good. We can hear each sound clearly. Now it's a matter of fine-tuning the priorities of which ones are functioning with the harmony to lock it in, and get another version coming through. What you got to do, or in other words, super creative brain, lots of ideas, putting them all into the track. Now we got to juggle them and see which ones are working together to make it sound fluid. Growing out of Mill. It's 108. Hey, if you're watching and I did not play your track yet, let me know. Let's run through Mindbender's Embryonic Rave thing. This is a master, I believe. Oh, and then real quick, I didn't stop and do a big promo thing, but there is also a Discord channel for mastering opinions. So there's mastering help, and Caesar put up an A/B, a before and after, to just talk about, hey, which one of these masters sound better, which I love. That is such a cool question, and it's a great place to put this in a channel for mastering so we can actually listen. And it's not like track feedback, like, oh, your song's too long or whatever. It's just like, let's critically listen. And you don't have to be a mastering engineer to comment on this. Just listen to it on the system you have, whoever's watching. Play these two versions and notice what you hear and then write what you notice. That's all you got to do, because when you're mastering, you want it to sound good on earbuds, headphones, mobile speaker, in the car, on studio monitors, in a club, in mono, across the street from somebody who's playing it in their house, like that's where music has to function and transfer to all those sound systems. So any comments you have on mastering are going to be helpful, even if you're not a mastering engineer. That's what I have to say about that. Let's hear what is happening with the Mindbender. That's a dirty little loop, isn't it? All right, this is a good example of a bass line we can hear separately from the kick drum and see separately from the kick drum. There's the bass line notes at, 81 and 90 something, 99. And then we got a nice big puffy round kick drum at the 50s. Vocal up around 900, 1K. Female vocal, 2K. This mix sounds great. I'm going to skip forward. Mindbender tweaking knobs as usual. Nice delay. This is, I'm not sure what feedback he's asking for, if he was looking for. No, where was this one? Oh, was that in mastering? After I talked about that? Okay. I don't remember what feedback Martin was looking for on that one, Morton. So, layer them, give organic flavor to it. I might have got mixed up with thinking I was giving feedback on the other one. Master the track this morning. Everything's more glued. Oh, he's talking to Ben Hunt about that. Yeah. So let's take a listen to this one. Sorry if that was confusing, everybody. Mr. Melvis, thanks for hanging out. Nice work. That track is sounding really good. I think there is a search bar on Discord, but I have not tried to use it right now. And Matt Schultz, did you have a new track? What did you say? I'm gonna go look for Matt's track. Is that in Dub Techno? This, Mindbender, Your Love Keeps Lifting Me. This track sounds amazing right now. Total Giorgio Moroder. Decka, 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 decka. Look how bouncy that synth action is in the mid-range. And also notice these two bass notes around 150. They're popping way up above the spectrum line and making the bass line feel so clear. And that's the upper octave of the bass. If your bass is at like the note D down in the 70s, like 73 is the note D, the next octave up, you double the frequency so you get 150-ish. And bringing up the upper octave of your bass line is a really good way to get it louder in the mix and feel bassier without clashing against the sub kick drum. The beats are so nice in here, really well mixed. Is that a little FM synth treatment in there? Okay, Scott, yeah, if that's what's missing, then take like the MIDI notes, double them up an octave, make the second octave like EQ'd up louder, and that, you know, find the actual note and put an EQ boost at like 150, 170, whatever it is. That's a really good way to pull the bass line out. The vocoder in effect. Somehow it's so vital, it's like still throbbing through this long breakdown waiting for the kick drum. Yes, man. That synth line was super buttery. And what did we have for a transition? Was that one snare drum hit for a drum break? What was that? And then the beat kicks back in. What did we do? This was really interesting. I found we were in this long breakdown, meaning like the kick drum was gone, kind of waiting, but it never got boring and it didn't even feel like the dance floor would stop. You know, like when there's a breakdown in like big room music and people kind of stop and then they like have a drink or they light a cigarette, whatever. And like this track doesn't feel like that. The kick drum drops out, and so much of the energy keeps going with the arpeggiated rhythm, that Marauder, Giorgio Moroder vibe, and the beats on top are going. I want to just find when did the kick drum drop out, because I didn't find it. Yeah, really nice tune. And I also feel that this doesn't have, the kick drum is not like a huge separate thing like we hear in some disco house tracks. It's more of like a pulse that's in there, but it's not like boom, boom, boom. You feel that? Okay, 240 kick drum comes out. We still got a lot of low end happening, bass line happening. And remember, whatever happens right before the drop is going to be super memorable. So we got a nice, like, bassoon solo. I don't know what that is. And the kick is thumping. You know it's there, but it's not like a super, like, separate thing. Nicely mixed. And then bringing it down. That's a beautiful track. There's a female vocal thing and a robotic vocoder sound. All this stuff. I think there's a lot of hardware coming in here, so you can feel that there's like these long passages of mind bender tweaking knobs. And I started out talking about this at the beginning of today. Where are the interviews? So let's go on to Matt Schultz. So Morten, this sounds great. As always, your tracks sound really, really good. If this is a final master version, I'm going to give this the okay for my headphones analysis and spectrum view, which is super fun. And let's do Matt Schultz and then finish off with Grown Out of Minimal, which I think Pivklet said this was the last mix before, or the last version before getting into mixing the whole album. So Matt Schultz, Difficult Ways. Caesar, I put all the replays up inside the members site in the replays area. If you don't have access to that, let me know, and we'll get that connected. That might have gotten skipped. I'm going to turn this up. Did somebody leave the water running? I love it. Look how crisp that high end is. That little clicky thing. Okay, basically unmixed, so you're looking for arrangement. Caesar, should I play your track from the mastered section? Yeah, Matt, good signals. It's simple and interesting, and flow, you know? Caesar, I'm not seeing your track. Spectrum analyses, ooh.
Beyond some mysterious point of complexity, it seems to become alive.
Are we looking at this N4D4 track? And Matt, I'm just listening in the background. This is perfect. Like the arrangement, the flow. It's like soft, takes us through. Little stuff keeps coming and going and changing, and it has that steadiness.
I say the objection to that point of view is simply that it's a way of looking down your nose at things. In fact, it's an objection. The objection to it is that it's an objection.
Alan Watts? Maybe a little delay. Objection. Check, 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 check. You know me, I love a good delay. Good delay, 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 delay.
When you construe the whole universe in an objectionable way, the person who does this is really saying, I want to be miserable. Now you're perfectly entitled to be miserable. Or I want to be realistically miserable in that sense. And that's perfectly okay if that's the way you want to be.
That synth is great. Wow, wow, wow. I like how the hi-hat's doubled up right here. So we're like 2/3 of the way through the track. Faster rhythms came in to like give it a little lift. Yeah, man, this one's good to go. It's just keep doing what you're doing. Add the vocal treatment. It's got that classic low bump thing. Boom, boom, boom. I would love to see that sub bass by itself with no kick drum if we get that at the end. That'd be cool.
Beyond some mysterious point of complexity, it seems to become alive.
Your sub bass and kick are so similar, it's almost like a double kick drum. Boom, boom, boom. There is space for like a filtered flute type melody on top for a little higher note to kind of thread through the track. If you do question it getting boring, I would recommend adding a higher pitched sound that just kind of copies that one drone. C5, 1K. Do we get Alan Watts at the end? That clicky thing is great. It's like peaceful too. It's just like whoosh. Zone. Oh, that was great. That synth swell at the very end just was perfect. Like, okay, we're done. Wow. That was great, man. What are you doing? Adding a drone. Da, 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 do, 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 do. You have nothing to worry about with the arrangement. It's perfect length, 7.5 minutes, dub techno vibe. Just bring people right in, zone out. Stuff is moving around. The synths are, swelling, bouncing. There's stereo stuff happening. And just give Alan Watts a little bit of echo so he bounces around inside our heads, which is what apparently he's going to do forever because it's still relevant. Caesar, I still didn't catch up with you if you want to hear like this N4D4 jam. Yes, I want to go there. Hold up, wait a minute, play some SoundCloud, no ads in it. Discovering chord inversions, that is super cool. That's a fantastic thing. We should talk about chord inversions in the songwriting channel that popped up today because it's such a simple thing. Like instead of playing C, E, G, you could play like E, G, C, have the same harmonies, but the bottom note can be reserved for the bass line to play the bottom note, and the chord part skips that low note and play a different voicing. Here we go. Oh, look at that. That's nasty. Little hi-hat coming in there. This spectrum analyzer idea, that was a great idea. This is making track feedback a lot more fun. It was already fun, but... Okay, I do want to play around with this. Of the four masters, I think the less polished is between A and B. It's between A and B, the best of them. Oh, you think D is the least polished and A and B is like one of A and B is the best? Let's start with A. That vocal is cool. It's nice and loud. You don't want little peaks at 3.5 kilohertz, though. That did have a little bit of a shrill, like, kind of on the ch sound. The vocal. Let me jump into the beats. Okay. When I'm comparing masters, I try to find the same part, the same section in the song, and then play a little bit and go back and forth and kind of have your ears just absorb it. I think of mastering as like, if you're like, let's say you're painting a swimming pool and one pool is like the paint is blue-green and then the other paint is like green-blue. And you're like, is it blue-green or green-blue? they're both blue-green, but they're not the same green-blue. Like, which one is better? And you could just look at it all day. Maybe that's why I'm not a mastering engineer. Okay, this is B. Hey, Scott, see you later. See you on Saturday. Shepard, see you later. Hey. Honestly, right now, I'm not getting a big difference between A and B. Let's check out the C mix. Okay. It's sounding nice and big and wide as is. Let's check the B drop. Oh, I like B better. So when we went from C to B, I felt like the beats, the drums jumped out on B. Let's check the drop on A. Okay, and back to D. I noticed the hi-hat's more on this one. And it feels like the synth is less buzzy and less loud, that mid-range synth. Yeah. So those upper mids are clearly quieter in D. The B version feels like the mid-range has been, like if you had a multi-band compressor and the mids are like pushed up louder compared to the beats. Where's that vocal? So A and B feel like the mid-range has been squished the most and loudened up with like a limiter going up on the mids. D feels like the softest to me. And DJ Waters is picking B. I'm getting the clap on the B version. So I don't know if I can even pick a version. I think D is the noticeably different from the group. It feels like softer, and the high end is like not as amped. A and B are pretty similar, and C is kind of in the middle. So I don't know what to say on this one. You want to avoid really hype. It's kind of like if you're making, I'm going to use a cooking analogy again. Like, let's say you're cooking and you've got like 5 things on the stove and you put a little salt in one of them, or like, a salad and 3 things over here and then one other like appetizer thing. Like, you put a little salt on this and you taste something else, and all of a sudden the second thing you taste doesn't taste salty enough because you just had like, something really salty in your mouth. So you add a little more salt over there, and you go around like that, and gradually the whole meal gets saltier and saltier and saltier, and you're like, ah. So that's like adding too much high frequency where you boost up the mids because you want that synth to be bright, but then the hi-hats need more, so you boost up the hi-hats, and then the low end is like not quite enough, and you boost up the low. So it can be getting into multiband compressors and just working with big frequency ranges to get them all to be loud and present and upfront and bright. You can easily go too far and overdo it. That's why you got to use reference tracks and somebody else who has fresh ears who can just listen to it and be like, I've never heard this before. Let me see what I notice. So for me, what I really noticed was that D was the softest. A and B felt the most hyped with like the most extra salt on top. And one more time, let's just check the C mix. Who said something about the low end? Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, D is totally different. D is like the mids are like sucked out. It's like a scooped out section in the middle. Get some more opinions on this. I like what we're doing with having versions to compare, and I'm glad I can identify the difference between a few versions, but let me just tell you right now, I don't think that track feedback is the right place for me to say which version is the best. Like, if people can vote on it or give opinions and stuff, that'll probably be good. I'm going to try and just relate what I can notice, but I'm feeling limited by what I want to do is center myself like this and take these off, and like when I'll tell you if you guys want to know if I was actually doing mastering on this and I had these versions, I would go into live, make 4 channels where I could press buttons and just like have one button solo each one, and then loop the same exact region and get the spectrum analyzer up and get a reference track up and go between them and just listen to the same loop, like kind of with my eyes closed, and like go through them and volume match them too, because you don't want to be tricked by which one is actually louder. So I would like read the peak level meters, volume match all the versions, and compare them A and B to really listen for the tone balance and the dynamics, because loudness isn't really the goal of mastering. The goal of the master is to have the best tone so you can feel all the sounds the right way, and the dynamics so that everything is like swelling. When we were first looking at spectrum, I was saying how that the high end you could see is like the lows and the highs, like boom, chick, boom, chick, boom, chick, boom, chick. And you could like see the track breathing in spectrum and feel it that way. Well, as you get into mastering and doing compression upwards and multiband compression, you get less and less of that pulse because the quiet stuff is getting louder and the loud stuff is hitting the ceiling. So instead of being like boom, chick, boom, chick, it'll be like, and you could end up squishing your track to death by trying to get one part comparatively louder to the other. So what I would do if I was comparing this is bring them all into live where I could measure them on a peak level meter, average level meter, phase meter for the stereo width, compare it to a reference track, look at the overall frequency distribution on the spectrum line, and and close my eyes and just listen to them and feel them, and then take a break and come back and listen to them and be like, just pick the one that I think feels the best. That's kind of the process I would go through, if that's useful. Mastering is a dark art because you do it with your eyes closed. Oh my God, Steve, shut up. Let's go out to Lofofora and listen to some ambient as we're on the way out. Choop. 145. Yeah, good little session today. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Thanks for putting up updates. And I love the chat and the discussions that are going on in Discord. I always say this every week. I don't spend as much time as I want to on there, but I do try to pop in and just keep an eye on what's happening and add in little blips when I'm there. Yeah, D felt a little mushed. That's a good word for it. So this is from Pivklit, and this is going to be ready soon. What did he say about grown out of minimal? Last version before I go into the cave and mix the album. Nice. Look at that separation. We've got the low sub, the kick drum, and then the upper synths. Coming out of the swamp with that one. That was me turning up. Yes, Jesper. And he said this is not mixed yet. It's amazing. I'm just sitting here loving it. Lophophora. Is that like loving butterflies? Lepidoptera. Ping pong delay. Look at that pulse. You could just hear it. That hand percussion sounds great. So clean too. I don't even want to talk on it. Nice and big and deep. I'm going to skip forward right now.
are the bridge to a greater understanding between all men.
Shankara Shankara.
Super tight. You guys are lucky I already closed the DJ Waters tab because I would press play. Doof, 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 doof. Oh, Matt, I'm going to read that tip. The secret of great mixes is to make the individual sounds already sounding good by themselves, because you can't mix crap to sound good. And I'm going to use that for promo because I absolutely agree. The first step of mixing is to take your individual channels and get each one of them to their best level. So let's say your mix is a salad and you want to add cucumbers. The cucumber channel, you want to peel it first to get the extra part off and cut it into the right size pieces, and then only put in enough pieces of cucumber so the mix of cucumber in the salad feels right. Cooking. When you have a sound with a whole bunch of low frequency like a drum loop, you peel off the outer edge, which is like the low frequencies, and then bring it in at the right level so that your kick drum sounds good, your drum loop doesn't crowd up the kick drum, and you can use the drum loop easier. Everybody wants to remix this track. Yeah, man, for sure. That vocal level and the drone synths and stuff. And yeah, mixing is what I do, is work with the individual channels first to do a little bit of EQ and compression to get them in shape as individual sounds, then bring them into the mix and start working them in the stereo field and the frequency range to get them all together. And of course, you know what I'm about to say. If you want some help with mixing and you don't have a strategy and you don't have a plan, you don't know how to approach it, what you got to do is check out this course, Gain Staging Strategy for Bass Mixes, which is something I built as guided Ableton projects you do inside Live. You download a Live pack, double-click, open it up, and get a hands-on session lesson where you learn by doing activities inside Live. And guess what, everybody? I just put up a new video to show you what you will learn inside these hands-on lessons. I basically opened up every lesson in the course, scrolled down through it to show you what they look like and what you get. There's me in the corner. So you can go to courses.mixitecture.com, click into the course called Gain Staging Strategy. The teaser module is free, so you can go in here and actually see the course and download a short version of lesson 1 to start out seeing how it works. If you never did a session lesson before, and I'm not talking to the people who are watching right now, I know you guys know, but anybody who's watching the replay who makes it all the way to the end, if you want some help with this, here's the way to learn it, because we take a 16-channel session with kick drum, sub bass, beat loops, hi-hat, snare, clap, synths, pad, lead, bass line, all that stuff, and effects, and master channel effects, and we make a mix. And I go through that process of working with individual channels, using all the audio engineering tools in this little effects rack down there. Then we work in stereo groups to measure the level of like your whole drum mix or your whole synth mix. Then we bring the groups together at the master channel and talk about the basic things. How loud do you make your kick drum? How do you get your kick drum and sub bass working? And finally, we talk about what to do at the master channel to get your main mix sounding good, sounding loud, not being crushed to death, and feeling good. And you'll really understand where loudness comes from and how to get your tracks to sound loud and feel good, so that you don't have to bang your head at the desk and make 25 different mixes and be confused. There really is a process for mixing, and there really is a system you can go through, especially with electronic music, to start at the beginning, go till the end in the process, step by step, and end up with a great sounding mix. It ends all your frustration. It makes it so much easier, and you can look forward to mixing instead of feeling that dread of like, oh God, I got to fight against this whole thing. If you want a tip, don't mess around with multiband compression at all. You don't need multiband compression until you actually learn how to do measuring your levels, adjusting things to fit together, having a concept of measurement and references. Then later you can get into multiband. I mean, if you want to use multibanding in sound design just because it sounds weird, it's fun, yeah, go for it, knock yourself out. But for basic rough mastering and making mixes and stuff, making stereo mixes to just check your mix, you don't need multiband compression to make an excellent album quality mix. That's my hot tip for you. So check it out, courses.mixitecture.com. It is waiting for you. And I'm really proud of this teaser module, actually. I was really like, I saw so many questions from people about what is gain staging, so many bad answers of people giving advice in Ableton groups, and it's totally wrong. So I wanted to clear all that up, and I found out, you know what? It's kind of hard to define gain staging in a one-sentence thing of like measure, adjust your levels, all that kind of thing. So I built some definitions. Starting off, terms you need to know. Headroom, distortion, signal-to-noise ratio, stuff like that. You got to know what those mean before you can even understand why we do gain staging. So there's a video. Then the gain staging tools. It's not about buying a VST plugin to make your mix sound good. It's about understanding what is gain doing, where do we adjust it, how do we measure it, and what do those things mean when we look at them. So this is specifically for Ableton Live. I show you what to look at and what the tools are. Just checking the comments. And then module 1, you get a preview of the actual course where you can download this first hands-on session lesson and play with it, because I want you to play with it and have some fun. It's all about learning by listening, learning by doing it, learning to mix by playing with the controls inside Live instead of watching YouTube and pausing and getting distracted and then going to get something to eat and then looking at your phone and then watching some more video and then trying to remember it when you open Ableton and you don't have the same plugins and it gets to be a mess. Don't do that. What you want to do is get a hands-on session lesson where you learn by doing it inside Live. You can close the internet browser, lock the door, kick your friends out, play with your, play with your mixes, and that's all you need to do. So, oh man, check this out. Wow. Somebody should tell me to stop fooling around so much. That's the end of track feedback for today. Jesse, I know I didn't get to play in your tracks. We'll be back on Saturday. Keep the Discord mixes coming in. And there I am. Seriously, it is time to stop this feedback session. I'm going for a bike ride. See you all on Discord. Great job, and thanks for hanging out. See you next time. Any last questions?